Welcome back. Well, we continue now with our book segment. Former broadcast journalist Tracy Going has opened up about her life in her book, Brutal Legacy. It's a memoir detailing, among others, a time in her life when her partner abused her. Femicide is one of the leading causes of deaths among South African women, and in recent times there's also been a rise in the hashtag #MeToo movement. Well, Tracy Going joins us now from our Cape Town studios to talk a bit more about her book. Tracy, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us on this long weekend. This couldn't have been an easy book for you to write.
No, I think I think what one does when you write a memoir is that you go back and you actually write about memorable moments. So I think probably from that side of things, that part was probably the easy part. But going back into the past and going back into all the hurt and the pain and the fear was quite a process. And I now understand why people write.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, just the pain of going back to a time like this in your life. How was that process? How did you go about it? Were you speaking to someone to try and sort of help you work through those moments in your life?
No, I actually wasn't. I actually decided that I needed to be alone. I needed to be alone with my memories. I needed to go back quietly and relive all the emotions, because I wanted to take the reader on the journey with me as a child who'd grown up in a home with domestic violence, and then of course deciding as a child that it wouldn't happen to me, and then it did. So I needed to go back alone and quietly into that space so that I could really relive the emotion, relive the entire process, and then try and take the reader along with me as I came out of it. But of course I had to have done a fair amount of healing even before I started writing.
And the process itself must have been cathartic in some way, the going back through of that?
It was, and people always ask that. But I think that healing is a process, and so I had to have done a fair amount of healing from when I started writing, and then of course there was a great sense of further healing as I wrote, as I remembered, as I tried to analyze what had happened or why it had happened. Could I have done anything differently? Because I think for the most part you are, certainly as a child you're very helpless. As an adult I tried to take action and try and change the outcome in my own life so that the cycle of violence wasn't repeated. But I think that healing is an ongoing journey, and I think one is always healing from any form of violation. I don't think there's ever an end to it.
I'm just reading through one of the reviews of your book by another renowned author in our country, Sisonke Msimang. I'm not sure if you've seen it, the author of Always Another Country. And she starts off her review by taking us back to when you were in the media in the 1990s. And of course, we all remember you from that time, especially your time on Morning Live. And we missed you so much when you left our screens so abruptly. And she throws back to a very painful time, the image of your face as it was splashed across newspapers around the country. I mean, I still remember seeing that, and having followed you so closely as a broadcaster, it was shocking. But was that the moment that sort of precipitated you leaving our screens, leaving the industry in some way?
No, because what had happened was I was beaten up, and then it was, I had been negotiating with the national broadcaster to present the main evening news, which at that time was a very big thing, and they wouldn't touch me after that. And it took about 2 years before my career actually picked up again, and that was when I was asked to present the National Breakfast Show. So I only left about 5 years afterwards. But I haven't seen Sisonke's review. To me, she is just the most profound writer, and I know she's on the long list for the Sunday Times Book Award, and I'm hoping that she's going to be the winner. Her book had a profound effect on me, and I read it as I was writing, and her book, Always Another Country. And she's also done the shout on the cover of my book, which I found quite moving, and was very, very appreciative of the fact that she had done it for me. So I have yet to see what you were talking about now, and I'm looking forward to reading it.
Well, without giving away too much about your book, take us through, given the moment we're in our country, around the world, with the hashtag #MeToo movement, perhaps why it is such an important book at this time.
I think for me, I started writing, I realized the time had come to writing my book when the Oscar Pistorius trial was playing out on camera, on television. And it almost is my personal protest. I think we all protest in different ways. And writing this book is my way of saying, this is enough. And I've had the most wonderful response, not only from women across the country, but from men in particular as well. And I think there's so many men out there who are equally outraged at what's happening to their mothers, to their sisters, to the women in their lives. And so it was just, you know, almost the Me Too campaign broke last year as we were going to publishing. So it was purely coincidental that it all sort of came out together at the time. But I think that what we're really seeing is a shift. We're seeing a shift across the world. We're seeing, and hopefully we're seeing some form of shift in our own country with so many women speaking out. And it really is about time that men, some men, not all men, assess the way that they treat women. We are not there to be abused.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking as you're speaking of the hashtag Time's Up movement, absolutely. Thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us. It's great to have you on ENCA, great to see you again. Tracy Going joining us there, just talking about her book, Brutal Legacy. It's an important book given the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too movement.